Simone is back. Having evolved from Strixhaven, she now leads her own commander deck. In a mystery, in an infinite house, she honestly couldn't stay away. Her character of being a bookworm who wanted to study practically really shines here. Because who better to throw in a haunted house than a nerd with nerves? All commanders have 4 converted mana cost. I heard this is because 1 and 3 add up to 4, and who doesn't love math? Simone does. Simone still works with landfall, and on this cursed plane of Duskmourn, this means that she works with enchantments in a way, and that does mean that she works with the creatures of the house. She really doesn't care what it is that she is learning from. She'll find the patterns and she'll crack the case. Her landfall does say that you manifest dread, but what does that mean? You get a morph-like token that can be flipped into a creature, but what it really means is that you face your fears by revealing what's underneath those face-down creatures. In this series we reveal the lore of precons together to add a depth to your precon. Speaking about depths, Simone has found herself in an aquarium where the glass is slowly shattering and there's a mean looking shark in the background of this art by Crystal Faye. She's shooting a kind of zombie Stitch monster with a storage beam, and while she does, she explains her creation. By exploiting the theoretical infinity between the discrete atoms of reality, she can use it as a storage box to keep zombies in. This means she can also put a +1 counter on a creature and then return all odd or even creatures to their owner's hands. Cool thing, a +1 counter will change the odd or even property of a creature and will either keep it on the battlefield or doom it to be the cracked aquarium of reality that's Simone's Zapcon. The side commander for this deck seems to be a cruel one. It's a former teacher of Simone's, or it seems to be. This version of Kiana with a moth-inspired dress and a ghostly outlook is the house playing tricks on us. Apparently the house can read Simone's mind and has found out that her biggest fear would be to lose her teacher, Kiane. Did you know that Dean Kiane always wore a moth design of a dress? As if she was foreshadowing this whole set. Isn't that awesome? Something else, Kiane is the Dean of Substance, of reality. So her becoming an illusion, which is arguably the least real thing to exist, must be a real hit to Simone. Also note that Kiane always worked with counting mana values and that she worked with the fractals, who always had even powers and toughnesses. And now Kiana doesn't create fractals but becomes one, so to speak. She improves upon her own power and toughness whenever you draw a card. When her power is even, you can cast non-creatures with flash. When she becomes unstable, you may cast creatures with flash. To me this means that Kiana used to be about teaching non-creature spells, but now she's part of the house that helps to manifest creature spells when she's corrupted. So take a good moment to look at the art. There are eyes everywhere. In the trees, behind the windows. Isn't that creepy and neat? It also shows us that we are being looked at, and it also shows us that our reality is being reshaped. We need to look at more eyes to learn more, because it might actually be that Kiana was drawn here by the lure of power. Growth Spiral tells us about the infinite amount of rooms within the house, which are strange pockets of power. And we know this card Growth Spiral because it is known to be a card for Simone and Kiane. Kiane even features in the flavor of a version of this card. Here she tells a cute bit about wanting to learn from plants instead of books. So why wouldn't she actually be like Simone in wanting to learn from the house itself? Our deck features more types of cards telling us about the house. Or well, glitches are supposed to be the remnants of whatever was supposed to be outside of the house. This plane had spirits, but they wouldn't fit in the design of the house and were pressed to the outer edges of the plane, until they started glitching into the house. This man seems to want to learn about the glitches. He might feel like they're something outworldly, which they are, in a way. His abilities are to manifest more glitches onto the battlefield, because he's searching for them, and then, when one of the glitches moves, you draw a card from them dealing combat damage to a player. This shows how he learns from the glitches. And here's one of the glitches in action. She's mirroring one of the survivors left in the house, or perhaps her mother or other loving memory, showing how she's now gone, and what's more, she's loving about the anguish she's forcing upon Irene. In any case, she can copy a creature and then return as that creature long after it died, or that's what the card's implying. It seems like the glitch ghosts keep returning as remnants of beautiful memories, reminding Irene and other survivors that what they loved is actually lost to the house forever. Within the house is, I think, the takeaway here. You're never safe. Not from your memories, not in bed, and definitely not in the showers. You should always check any opening anywhere for monsters, because when you open the vault and something comes out, it will try to eat you. In this case, you manifest dread twice, because you are jump scared twice, for being shocked by blackened hands coming out of the pipes which remind you of the overlord of the place you are in, and because of the fact that you were just relaxed and now you definitely aren't from being in the shower all exposed. Also, when a face down creature is revealed, you will draw a new card, hopefully because you were able to finish your shower and you were able to get those ideas you get after one. Simone is still in school. Luckily there's time for playtime as well in the house. I mean, look at this beautiful doll that's indestructible. You can play with it without it ever breaking down. Do think a bit about how this doll head is controlling the legs. Fun, right? When it attacks or blocks or becomes targeted by a spell, it will deal damage equal to its power to each opponent. Now you could grow it with counters normally, creating a large spider, but you could also unleash the real monster with Monstrosity 5, getting you a 6/6. What a beautiful number, 6/6, especially since it will deal 6 damage every time it's targeted by a spell, which can be really easy to do in a deck outside of jump scare. Other inhabitants of the house include the beasties. These are masked creatures who strive to protect humans. See, not everyone will eat you yet. Well, unless the mask is pulled off, because then the beasties will feel bad about them scaring you with their hatred faces, and they will eat you out of shyness. This cutie likes to collect things that seem to be useful to humans. I think it's trying to help you, but actually he's taking your stuff away, hoping you will join him to be his friend sometime. This 6 mana 6/6 with reach lets dreadful monsters stay away, because they become 4/4, making the dread useful before it scares you. Then when this attacks, he's gathering more stuff by manifesting more dread. Probably because you're alone without supplies, because the curator has looted everything you needed. Now you need to become besties with this beastie. Another fun thing we learn about beasties is that they were once human. We know because you can turn a creature into a beastie with beast within. Isn't that amazing? You can become a monstrous beast helping humans until your face is revealed too. Also, what would be more scary than this beastie and its mask? Doesn't it make you curious? Perhaps you should let it take off its mask. It can't be that much worse, right? What is more Quandrix than disorientation? Nothing, exactly. So here it is in a sorcery. For each opponent you choose an artifact or enchantment, and each one may be exiled by their owner. Then if some of them are left on the battlefield, you may search your library for up to that many lands. Basically letting you ramp potentially 3 for 4 mana or removing 3 important game pieces. I think this is massive value, but you really don't know what you're getting. So it's a disorienting choice for your opponents, and for you it's a massive gamble. Confusion all around, at least. A new mechanic from Duskmourn is the room mechanic. It's basically 2 enchantments in one. You play one of them and later you can play the other one. Experimental Lab lets you manifest dread with a 4/4 with a trample. Staff Room then lets you flip a face down and put another +1 counter on it, making you create a creature from your experiments and then letting it come to rest in your staff room. But rest is temporary. The Shriekwood is a place where you definitely wouldn't find peace. There's wicker folk there that will burn you alive and turn you into one of them, and then there's this tree that consumes souls to let its roots reach for more victims. In this manner, the forests inside of the house are basically another house trying to devour it again from the inside out. Did you know that trees can grow inside of you when you eat seeds? Yeah, now that's a phobia. This devourer costs 7 mana, but then when you attack with the creature, you get to untap some lands. Isn't that amazing? I wouldn't often play this, but when you do pop off with it, it's reasonable. What's really strong is having all of your creatures become mana elves, especially when you're a big token strategy. Now, these really fit well in the Celestia deck, but there they could be fine too. We're left to wonder what the Citanul is, but it seems to be a forest with moth silk where these Celestian holy people will convert you to their holy forest. For some reason, I feel like you're not getting out, whether you're joining them willingly or you're consumed by the infinite forest. This deck is a story about finding your fears and finding more paths than when you started. But isn't that exactly what Quandrix is about? Posing more and more questions even if you don't find the answers. Or would that be their greatest fear? Well, Simone is fighting hers, will you?